Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to have you join us for the second webinar in our three-part series. We will start in a few minutes. You should see a question on the screen. Please take a few minutes to think about the answer and place your thoughts in the chat. We will be sure to get the answer during tonight's presentation. We will be starting shortly. Welcome to 3 days of connection and care, where we focus on chronic kidney disease awareness, resources, and education. This is day 2 of our webinar series on prevention of CKD, disparities in the Black community, nutrition, and exercise. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to everyone who would like to view it again at a later date. This event is hosted by the Nashville, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated and is produced in collaboration with the Music City, Tennessee and Parthenon, Tennessee chapters of the Links Incorporated. The Black K.A.R.E program is sponsored by a grant from Baxter International and the central area of the Links Incorporated. We are joined in our Black K.A.R.E educational outreach efforts through a unique partnership with the Metropolitan Interdenominational Church, the Metropolitan Interdenominational Church First Response Center, St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church, and the Meharry Salt Wagon Clinic. We look forward to working with our partners and the communities they serve. My name is Dr. Sheree Farmer-Dixon, and I am the proud Dean of the School of Dentistry at Meharry Medical College. I am also the National Director of the Health and Human Services facet of the Links Incorporated. Locally, I am a proud member of the Nashville, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated. Every day, my focus is on educating students and the public about the importance of our teeth and oral health. Last week, Dr. Ibele Ume Ukeje remarked the kidneys are one of the most important organs in the body. I cannot argue with her on that point, and I'm happy to facilitate our discussion with you tonight. Last week, we gave you a general overview of chronic kidney disease, CKD screening, wellness, and healthy goal setting. Tonight, we will take a deeper dive into CKD with a focus on risk factors and strategies for prevention. We will begin with Dr. Marquetta Faulkner, who will focus on risk factors and the Black community. She will provide insight into the critical link between CKD, nutrition, and exercise. We will then hear from a nutritionist from Vanderbilt and 2 physical fitness experts who can provide you with additional tips about how to better incorporate exercise in your daily routine. The last session on February 2nd will focus on our faith and our health. We are excited to hear from our faith partners as they share insight and wisdom about how those of us who are so led can honor our commitment to both our spiritual and our physical health. The Zoom link that you use to enter today's session will work for the webinar on February 2nd. If you have questions for our speakers, please use the Q&A button. During the course of the hour, you can enter comments in the chat. Let us know where you're from. If you are a member of a Links chapter, or if you're a member of one of our church partners, St. Vincent de Paul or Metropolitan Interdenominational Church, we want to know that. Stay tuned for information about our Kroger gift card giveaway. Everyone who completes at least 2 sessions will be entered into a drawing to win a $30 gift card. And those who complete all 3 sessions will be eligible for either a $30 or a $50 gift card. We will have more information about that at the end of the session. As a reminder, always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions or concerns that you may have regarding your health. To find out more information about Black K.A.R.E and chronic kidney disease, please scan the QR code on the screen or use the link that has been entered into the chat. We will begin by welcoming our faith-based partners. Thank you both for being with us. Thank you, Reverend Sanders, and thank you to your First Lady, Billy Sanders, for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. We'll possibly hear from them later, but we do have with us, welcome Deacon Harry Guest and LB Gators from St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church. Deacon Harry, would you like to say a few words, please?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm just excited to be part of this again this week. I think that this initiative on the part of the Links and Meharry and our other healthcare partners and other church partners is essential for us to improve the good of our whole community. And I'm excited about what we're going to do in March in terms of a health fair. And I encourage everyone to listen in, go back and review if you need to, and just take part in every way this wonderful initiative to help us be healthier people.
Thank you, Deacon Harry. And LB, thank you for helping to moderate the Q&A session with me tonight. Our newest partner is the Meharry Salt Wagon Clinic. We are so grateful to work with them. And as a result of our partnership, we will offer health and wellness screening opportunities at 2 churches in Nashville. Stay tuned for more information about that toward the end of our webinar tonight. It is now our distinct pleasure to introduce Laura Ferguson Mims, President of the Parthenon, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated, who will offer greetings and present our first speaker. Welcome, Madam President. Let me share just a little information with you.
Oh, President Mims, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Farmer Dixon. I am peacock proud and hyena happy to be here with you tonight as the president of the Parthenon chapter of the Links Incorporated for this Black K.A.R.E chronic kidney disease series. The Parthenon chapter of the Links Incorporated was founded in 1988 on friendship and service. We are committed to providing relevant and impactful programming designed to meet the needs of our community. I'm so excited to present our first speaker who will offer a deeper dive into this problem that affects many of us. We cannot always escape our genetics. We all have a family history that can place us at risk for hypertension or diabetes and CKD, but there are real ways to decrease our risk, and I'm excited to learn more tonight. Please allow me to introduce Dr. Marquetta Faulkner. Dr. Faulkner is a tenured professor of medicine and currently serves as the chief of the division of nephrology at Meharry Medical College and Nashville General Hospital. She has served in the capacity as Dean of the School of Medicine and Senior Vice President of Health Affairs, the Associate Dean of Graduate Medical Education, and the Designated Institutional Officer at Meharry Medical College in the School of Medicine, Interim Chair and Vice Chair for the Department of Internal Medicine, and as Assistant Chief of Staff of Services of Metropolitan Nashville General Hospital at Meharry. Dr. Faulkner still serves in various administrative capacities at Meharry Medical College today and is the medical director of the Meharry Dialysis Clinic unit. She is one of our leading local experts on chronic kidney disease. She has a national reputation and is a trusted health advocate in our community. She is a proud graduate of Meharry Medical College School of Medicine. She completed an internship and residency in internal medicine at Meharry. Dr. Faulkner is a board-certified nephrologist, having completed a fellowship in nephrology at Long Island Jewish Medical Center in New Hyde, New York. She continued her graduate education by attending the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, where she obtained a Physician's Executive Master's of Business Administration. Dr. Faulkner furthered her leadership skills by completing the executive leadership in academic medicine. She is a Diamond Life member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, a celebrated member of the Parthenon chapter of the Links Incorporated. I introduce to you our very own Dr. Marquetta Faulkner.
Thank you so much, Madam President, Dr. Mims, and thanks to all of the Nashville area chapters, Links chapters. It is truly a pleasure to be here to speak to you all tonight. This is a great opportunity for me to talk to you all about chronic kidney disease. Thank you. Next slide, please. Let's look at the scope of chronic kidney disease. There are 37 million people in the United States with chronic kidney disease, but only 1.3 to 1.4% will end up on dialysis. African Americans make up 33% of people on dialysis, despite being only 12% of the US population. Chronic kidney disease is a very silent disease, meaning that you don't know it until it's very late in the disease process. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
And it's freezing. Having a little technical difficulty here. Okay.
Thank you. Diabetes mellitus and hypertension account for 75% of African Americans with chronic kidney disease. Knowing the cause of chronic kidney disease allows doctors to select a specific plan of treatment. Chronic kidney disease can only be detected early from blood and urine tests because there are no signs and symptoms until very late. Next slide, please. If chronic kidney disease is caught early and treated, there's a very good chance that it can prevent the need for dialysis. Once kidneys fail, there are only two forms of treatment: dialysis, and it could either be peritoneal or hemodialysis, or kidney transplant. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, what is chronic kidney disease? Chronic kidney disease is any abnormality of the kidney that is present for more than 3 months. It could be protein loss, a blood loss in the urine, or an X-ray with an abnormality. It could be the loss of kidney function, which is known as a decrease in the glomerular filtration rate. Next slide, please. Now let's look at some of the statistics of chronic kidney disease. What is the cause? Well, 76% of all Americans, including whites and all other minorities, chronic kidney disease is due to diabetes mellitus and hypertension, as listed as a cause on their Medicare claims. What is the gender? Well, females are slightly more affected than males, but that's not statistically significant. What about race? As a percentage of race, African Americans, Hispanics, American Indians, Asian Americans, Native Alaskans, and Native Hawaiians are all affected more than Caucasians. And of all those races, African Americans are more affected than anybody else. Now, where do people live? Well, they live in the southern states mostly: Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Southern California have the highest incidence per million population of people with chronic kidney disease than all of the states. But where is this? This is where that good old food good old Southern food is cooked and eaten. And this is where people do the less exercise. So they don't do as much exercise in those states as well. Next slide, please. How can diet help to reduce the risk of chronic kidney disease? Diet can help to prevent or control two main causes of chronic kidney disease. Those two main causes are diabetes mellitus, or elevated in blood sugar, or hypertension, or high blood pressure. Next slide. Now let's look at high blood sugar, or diabetes mellitus. Next slide. When we look at this blood sugar chart, when you look at a fasting blood sugar, and that's a blood sugar that you usually get in the morning after you get up and you haven't eaten, that blood sugar, if you're not a diabetic, should be 99 milligrams per DL or less. If you wait 2 hours after you eat and take a blood sugar, and you're not a diabetic, it should be less than 140 milligrams per DL. And your hemoglobin A1C should be less than 5.7%. There are different numbers for those who have diabetes, though. If you do a fasting blood sugar in the morning after you get up and you have diabetes, then your blood sugar should be no more than 130 milligrams per DL. If you take a 2-hour after meal blood sugar test, if you have diabetes, it should be less than 180 milligrams per DL. And what should the hemoglobin A1C for those who have diabetes mellitus? It should be less than 7% or less than 7%. Next slide, please. Now, how can high blood sugar cause chronic kidney disease? Well, high blood sugar can make the kidneys filter too much blood. This extra filtering is hard on the kidneys and causes kidney damage. If the blood sugar is not controlled, this damage causes the kidney to lose protein in the urine called albuminuria. This albuminuria can lead to loss of filtering ability of the kidneys. This can lead to chronic kidney disease, where waste products then build up in the bloodstream. Next slide, please. Now, here's a schematic drawing of what I've just discussed. On the left-hand side is a normal kidney, and blood comes to that kidney, and then it filters waste products out, and that's where that blue area is. That's urine. That urine goes down into the ureter and then out. Now look at the right-hand side. The right-hand side shows a kidney that has been damaged due to diabetes. The blood flows into the blue area. It filters out waste products. But in addition to waste products, it is also filtering out protein or albumin. And that albumin is being lost in the urine, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, where you see protein in the urine. And this is what we test when we test your kidneys for kidney damage, when we do the screenings. Next slide, please. Now, how can a change in diet help? It can help reduce the risk of diabetes, which is the cause it can help to reduce diabetes, which is caused by persistent high blood sugars. Reducing the risk of diabetes further reduces the risk of chronic kidney disease. Diabetes mellitus, remember, is the most common cause of chronic kidney disease. Next slide, please. Now let's look at high blood pressure. Next slide, please. High blood pressure is a blood pressure of 140/90 or greater. As you can see, that's in the red. Everything in the red is high blood pressure, and that's not good. The ideal blood pressure is around 120/80. That's in the green. That's pretty good. But we will accept what's in the yellow up to 140 millimeters of mercury, over 90 millimeters of mercury. Anything in the red is not good and needs to be treated. Next slide, please. Now, how can high blood pressure cause chronic kidney disease? High blood pressure constricts and narrows blood vessels, which eventually damages and hardens all the blood vessels in the body, including the kidneys. This narrowing decreases blood flow and causes hardening or sclerosis due to lack of blood supply to the organs. The kidneys are not able to remove all waste and extra fluid from the body. That extra fluid in the blood vessels can raise your blood pressure even more, creating a dangerous cycle, causing more damage, leading to chronic kidney disease. Next slide, please. Now here's a schematic drawing of that. This time on the right-hand side is the normal blood vessel. And as you can see, those red blood cells are flowing through it very nicely, and the blood vessel is open and able to supply blood to the needed organs. On the left-hand side is a blood vessel that's affected by high blood pressure. As you can see, the lumen is narrowed and the red blood cells are having a hard time getting through. Eventually that will close off and cause sclerosis to the organ that is beyond that site. Next slide, please. And this is just another schematic drawing of that, showing that not only is the kidney affected at the bottom, but the heart is affected in the middle, and the brain is affected. So those are three main organs that have problems when you have uncontrolled high blood pressure. Next slide, please. Now, how can a change in diet help with hypertension? Well, limiting salt or sodium in your diet to less than 2,300 milligrams per day will help to control your blood pressure, along with your medications. Not just diet, you have to take your medications as well. High blood pressure is the second most common cause for kidney disease in African Americans. Next slide, please. Now, how can exercise help reduce the risk of chronic kidney disease? Regular exercise can improve many of the risk factors associated with the development of chronic kidney disease. The three risk factors associated on which exercise has a positive impact are diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and obesity. Yes, obesity is also a risk factor for chronic kidney disease, and many African Americans have all three of those. Now, what are the benefits of exercise? Exercise helps to keep your blood sugar under control. It helps to keep your blood pressure under control. It helps you to maintain a healthy weight. It reduces your risk of heart attack, reduces your anxiety, stress, and depression, and improves your sleep and energy levels. Next slide, please. How much exercise should you do? You need to exercise about 150 minutes a week, and you can break that up to 50 minutes 3 times a week, or 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or 25 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Next slide, please. In summary, controlling your blood sugar and blood pressure can reduce the risk of chronic kidney disease. Eating a healthy diet and regular exercise are key to reducing the risk factors for developing diabetes mellitus, or high blood sugar, and hypertension, or high blood pressure. Next slide, please. Thank you. And enter your questions into the Q&A if you have some. I will be happy to answer them. And look for me with the Salt Wagon team on January 29th at Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church at 2708 Jefferson Street, and on March 25th at St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church at 1700 Hyman Street. I'll be looking for you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faulkner. And as a reminder, as she stated, please place all of your questions in the Q&A box, and we will be sure to either get them answered directly or electronically. And I also want to thank Madam President of the Parthenon, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated, and Dr. Laura Ferguson Mims is not only the president of the Parthenon, Tennessee chapter, but she is also the executive director of the Tennessee Higher Education Initiative. And this is a Tennessee-based nonprofit that is committed to disrupting systems of harm, creating opportunities for autonomy through education, and advocating with and for justice impacted individuals. It is a pleasure for us to have both of you with us through this partnership. Now, to motivate you towards your health goals, the first 10 community members who log into each webinar will receive a Black K.A.R.E cookbook. Yum, yum. Please check your email for this offer in the coming weeks. We will now hear from Fran Blackman, who will give us additional specific information about nutrition that should help us on our wellness journey. Fran received a Bachelor of Science in Food and Nutrition Dietetics from Tennessee State University and a Master of Science in Food Science and Nutrition from the University of Kentucky. She has worked at Vanderbilt since 2014, is a well-respected registered dietitian and diabetes care and education specialist. Welcome, Fran, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to talk to you about kidney health as it relates to nutrition. Next slide, please. So as we've learned, kidneys are vital to keeping the body toxin-free. And the most common causes of kidney disease include high blood pressure that is poorly managed, as well as uncontrolled diabetes. Next slide, please. So as we talk a little more about nutrition, we know that nutrition is key to managing kidney disease and overall health. If you have kidney disease or want to prevent kidney disease, you may need to make changes to your diet. Next slide, please. So we want to look at 3 tips that can help to protect your kidneys. One is limiting sodium intake. 2 is keeping protein intake moderate and not large. And then 3 is cutting down on sugar. So let's dive into limiting sodium intake. Let's test knowledge. So name 2 foods in the chat that are low in sodium. And examples, I'm probably going to answer quicker than you respond, but it would be fruits, and someone has spinach there. Yes, so for vegetables would be one for sure. Unsalted nuts, I put Greek yogurt on my list, and yeah, so I see everyone's getting those good veggies as an answer. Next slide, please. So sodium is a mineral found in many foods. Sodium overload can lead to an increased blood pressure, which puts a strain on the kidneys. If kidneys aren't working well, sodium and fluid can build up in the body and cause problems such as high blood pressure and swelling. Next slide, please. So when we talk about limiting sodium intake, the Center for Disease Control, and Prevention found that a large % of Americans consume foods that are highly processed or have a lot of, or from restaurant meals. Those would be the things that are highest in sodium: processed foods and then foods from restaurant meals. And I have a list here of those items. So it is important to reduce restaurant meals or be very careful with what you're choosing when you're going to restaurants, as well as looking for lower sodium options of some of these foods, such as like canned vegetables, looking for the ones that say no salt added, looking for crackers that have no salted top, those type of things. Next slide, please. Comparing labels is another way to help limit sodium. So it's very important to look at labels. A low sodium nutrition plan would suggest about 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. And if you're including frozen meals as part of your diet, which some people do as far as to help with time or just not having to prepare meals as much, looking for ones that have less than 600 milligrams of sodium in those frozen meals. An example that I have on the picture there is the Healthy Choice Cafe Steamers. They have a lot of choices that are under 600 milligrams of sodium, and you can pair them with a side item that will be low sodium, such as a piece of fruit or a side salad, something like that. Next slide, please. So when in this example, just kind of want to show when we look at labels, if I don't know if you can see that in the print, but the regular green beans has 380 milligrams of sodium. The one that says no salt added has 10 milligrams of sodium, and then the frozen green beans have 0. So it's very important, like I say, to definitely look at the labels and compare that information. And that, because that's significant difference. Next slide, please. When we talk about limiting sodium intake, we want to also look at what are some ways to flavor our foods with things that have less sodium versus adding salt or adding garlic salt or garlic or onion salt, stuff like that. Or, you know, other things that would have salt. We look at, you know, the Mrs. Dash products, or flavoring with garlic and onion, flavoring with vinegars. Some cheeses are lower sodium, like Swiss and Parmesan. Citrus, such as using lime and lemon, fresh lime and lemon. Salsas are great. I'll add salsa to a lot of stuff. And salsa does vary in the sodium content. So comparing the brands and looking for one that has lower sodium. Hickory smoke flavoring powder is another addition. Definitely check label on that first. Next slide, please. So test your knowledge. Let's identify some different plant-based proteins. So if you can put in the chat a couple of plant-based proteins that you may be aware of. When my list includes lentils and peas, beans, nuts, seeds, peanut butter or other nut butter. Some people like almond butter as an example. Someone has beans there, I see noted. Veggie burgers, plant-based protein shake. Those would be some examples. Next slide, please. So we want, and you have to progress it to the, yeah, you can just go ahead and add like maybe 3 more clicks, 1 more. Yeah, and then the other click. Thank you. So protein in our diet is found in both animal foods and plant foods. Most Americans consume more animal protein than plant protein. So it's important to eat the right amount of protein each day. However, research shows that Americans eat more protein typically than needed. Eating too much protein of any kind can make the kidneys work harder. If you have kidney disease, you may need to eat less protein or replace some of that animal protein with plant-based protein. Next slide, please. And so one study found that people without, one study found that those that ate more, particularly meat protein, particularly red meat and processed meat, had a higher risk for chronic kidney disease than those that ate less. So for some individuals that know that, if you know that you feel like your meat intake is heavy, suggestions I give is, or like on here it mentions reducing 1 serving or 2 servings in a day of the thing. We sometimes talk about like meat-free Mondays, having a day that you're meat-free or a meal that's meat-free. Like breakfast doesn't have to have eggs and bacon and sausage in it all the time. Sometimes breakfast can be a plant-based protein shake, or breakfast can be oatmeal, or it can be something like a fruit with some nuts or some Greek yogurt, those type of things. Next slide, please. So when we keep protein moderate versus large, we're also looking at plate method concept, and that concept just on the pictures you see there, how the meals are balanced, just kind of looking at a more balanced way of having more veggies on the plate, more like putting veggies in your soups, on a sandwich, stuff like that. So those are some ways to reduce the meat part by adding more veggies on the plate. Next slide, please. And then this just kind of shows some plant-based protein examples and just other plant-based foods in general. There are a lot of good products out, like I say, veggie burgers. The picture there, the Dr. Prager's a pea protein-based burger, and you may have heard of Beyond Meat, which is another pea protein-based product that makes burgers, as well as kind of crumbles that some people add as an alternative to putting beef in spaghetti sometimes, or that type of thing. And then there are some plant-based protein shakes that are noted here. And we already talked about beans and lentils. As I mentioned earlier, those are good. And they have now pastas that are made with beans or made with chickpeas, stuff like that. So just some examples there. Next slide, please. So test our knowledge. Which is a better option, Sprite or Diet Juice? That's an easy one, hopefully, to answer. I have Diet Juice. Next slide, please. So when we look at another tip to help with another tip for protecting our kidneys is cutting down on sugar, particularly sugar from beverages, which is a big thing for a lot of people. So cutting back on like soda and juices and any beverages that have more calories. Here in this study, they talk about soda and fruit drinks. It says not 100% juice, but I want to mention that even 100% juice has a lot of sugar content. It's just naturally sweetened. It's not like added sugar, but it's still important to reduce the amount because of how it can also affect the blood glucose level. So want to be mindful of that. So when we look at cutting down on sugar, just kind of showing some pictures here of things that are like flavoring your water naturally with some fruit, such as lemon and lime. Also, there are a lot of good like little drop-ins that you can add and that type of thing. So just want to note that. Next slide, please. So to prevent or manage kidney disease, you may need to change the way you eat. And that may involve also seeing a dietitian if needed. Thank you. And I think these links here were put in the chat, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fran. And as a reminder, if you have questions for Fran or Dr. Faulkner, please place them in the Q&A box. We will end our session with a few words from fitness experts. Both nutrition and exercise are important ways to decrease our risk of CKD and decrease our risk due to hypertension, diabetes, and weight gain. Please join me in welcoming Kimberly Collier. Kimberly is a native of Huntsville, Alabama, and a two-time graduate of Alabama A&M University. She is a fitness instructor and teaches Zumba to many adults and youth in the Huntsville area. She works with middle school and high school students to prepare them for college and career readiness. She also has a Facebook fitness page by the name of Yours in Fitness by Kimberly. Kimberly, take it away.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Kimberly Collier, and I am so honored to have this opportunity. I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Garrison Callahan and members of the Nashville, Tennessee chapter of the Links. Thank you for this opportunity. I will be talking about the importance of exercise. And so exercise is just a piece of the puzzle. So it also, in preventing illnesses and diseases, you do have to diet as well as exercise. So I am a Zumba instructor. I've been an instructor just as long as I was a student. I was a student for 6 years, and then I became an instructor 6 years later. So let's get to the slides. All right, so as you can see, or you may ask, what is your motivation for exercising? So as you can see on my left side, your right probably, is a picture of myself as a little girl. And as you can see, I was pretty big as a young lady. I think that picture was, maybe I was 8 years old on that picture. But that was my motivation for exercise then was, and I'm just gonna be honest, kids were so cruel. They used to pick on me because I was overweight. And so when I got to middle school, I decided, okay, enough is enough. I've got to do something about my weight. So I started exercising. So as a child, that was my motivation then. Okay, and then on my right side, which may be on your left side, is me now. And as I said, I'm a fitness instructor. And my motivation now for exercising is breaking generational cycles. What I mean by that, my mother and my father, they both have diabetes. They both have high blood pressure. I pray that they don't get chronic kidney disease. But those are my motivating factors, trying to break the cycle of health that has ran through my family, through my parents and the generations before me. And then just wanting to create a new cycle of health for my legacy, my children one day, about taking your health seriously, even at a young age. Because when I was a kid, I didn't take my health seriously. My parents pretty much let me eat whatever I wanted. And I wasn't a very active kid. I wasn't involved in a lot of activities that involved aerobic activity. Next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so I have a one question quiz. It says, what % of Black adults have very low physical activity outside of work? And if you could put your answer in the comment or the chat section below. I think we need to go back one slide if they want to see, so they can see the question. We're a slide ahead.
Are you seeing the slide, the question? It's there.
Yes, the slide with the question.
Okay.
It may be my computer going a little slow. Okay, there we go. So the question was, what % of Black adults have very little or low physical activity outside of work? Okay, drum roll, virtual drum roll. The answer is, next slide, please. The answer is in blue. It is 30%. So we as Blacks, as well as Hispanics, have the lowest rate of physical activity according to the CDC in 2020. So we as a people, as African Americans, we want to operate as a whole to change this statistic and work to get our move on. All right, next slide, please. All right, let's look at the numbers. You can take a glance at this for a second. So, and this has been mentioned earlier in this webinar, we as African death rates in these health conditions that are mentioned and that were mentioned in this webinar previously: high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke. And I didn't know that chronic kidney disease was, we were at high risk for that as well. But high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke, we all statistically as Blacks have the highest rate in these health conditions. So we want to also operate as a whole to change the statistics of this as well and take better care of ourselves and our health. And exercising is a great way to start. Next slide, please. So you may say, why is exercise important? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. Did you know exercise has great benefits? Just like when you are interviewed for a job, one of the questions you ask is what? What are the benefits of this job? What comes with the benefits of this job? Well, what comes with the benefits of exercise is the following that is contained on this slide. It helps control your weight. It improves your mental health and mood. It strengthens your muscles and your bones. It reduces your risk of heart disease. And it increases your chances. It increases your it increases your chances of living longer. Next slide.
It's there. I think you may have a delay.
Okay, here we go. All right, so some people do find it hard to get started exercising, period. And we all of us, we're really busy. All of us have different personal things going on in our lives that may make it difficult to get started, period. But then others, they find it easy to get started exercising, but find it rather harder to keep it going. So how to get exercise started? Here are some quick tips. And I want to give out this disclaimer. Speak to your primary care provider before starting any exercise program or exercise regimen. So how to get exercise started? Let's go back a slide.
if you could move on, because we're kind of so we can stay on task quickly. But we can.
Okay. All right. So how to keep exercise going? Some quick tips. Set realistic exercise goals for yourself. Make every step count throughout your day. Switch up your exercise activities and routines so that you don't become bored. Monitor your progress. For example, keep a fitness journal or a tracker notebook, or you can just simply use a regular notebook. Get an accountability partner. For example, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, a personal trainer, etc. Accountability is important. Next slide, please. All right, well, that concludes my portion of this webinar. If you'd like to connect with me, my information is contained on this slide. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through email or on my fitness page. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kimberly. And now I will introduce Brandon Lewis. Brandon is a certified personal trainer who received his undergraduate degree from Louisiana College and a master's in exercise science from Middle Tennessee State University. Brandon, can you speak to us a bit about how and why we should include strength training in our exercise routine? And if you're speaking, you're muted.
I stayed muted because I didn't want to unmute myself. I want you to.
Okay.
Sorry. It's all good. My name is Brandon Lewis. I am the owner of Blue Core Training LLC, and I'm going to be talking with you briefly about how to continue to incorporate exercise into your daily activities, especially as we age. Let's define age. As we continue to get older, especially around that 60+ age range, we start to lose things. As we mentioned earlier, our strength, our energy, our vigor, our difficulty of walking long distances, and even grocery shopping, even carrying bags, climbing upstairs, going to our relatives' homes, and actually not being able to actually visit as much as we want to. So what is this thing called strength training? Well, with strength training, it has two ways we can look at it: resistance or weight training. You can use your own body weight or using things such as external equipment, which I will demonstrate in just a second. What are some benefits of it? We mentioned some of these things earlier. Bone mineral density. Why is that important? Because as we age, we tend to have less bone mineral density in our bones, which causes us to be a much higher risk factor to fall, break our hips, shoulders, etc. So increasing our activity with strength training can help reduce our falls because we're improving our balance. We're also improving our activities of daily living, increasing our strength, and also increasing our likelihood of keeping our independence. We tend to lose our independence as we get older if we're not very active and we're of high fall risk. So today I'm going to demonstrate a few things to you, but later on I'm going to have a few things sent to you. That's the goal, with a huge list of other exercises you can do at home. It doesn't take a lot of things. You can do this stuff here at home and keep it very simple. The first thing I have right here is a chair. One of the main exercises to help strengthen up the lower back, the hips, the legs, it's called a sit to stand exercise. We're going to start with our hands straight out, sitting straight down, nice and easy, and coming straight up. Utilizing the same muscles that we use to actually sit down and to stand. No flopping. If you're flopping, you're not using those muscles that you use to actually sit down. We call it an eccentric lift. Another exercise I want to demonstrate to you that we see this often in the aging population is as we get older, with less activity and we do not have great posture, you tend to see that nice little hump in the cervical area towards the thoracic spot of the back, that hump area. Due to less posture and less strength in those areas, we can actually reduce that by doing a exercise called band pull-aparts. Always start on the outside with these bands and then work your way in, because the tighter the grip, the tighter it's going to be. So start with the outside, pull that band straight to your chest, shoulder blades down and back, work in the middle of the shoulder blades down to the middle of the shoulders. What is that doing? It's helping actually work on what we call the rhomboid, the middle traps of the back. Nice good squeeze here, and we're coming back down. One more exercise I'm going to demonstrate here is called bow and arrow. This is basically done with a circular resistance band. If you can see this, very easy. You want to get nice, good stances with this kind of a slanted stance. One hand would be the actual resistance. The other hand would be the actual pulling. You want to pull back, squeeze those shoulder blades really good, abs nice and engaged, and then return back to our starting position. We're going to pull back again, nice, good, strong hold, and back again. Again, posture is very important. Also making sure that we stay consistent. Those are the three of many exercises that we can do. I'm not going to hold you long with that. I just want to make sure you guys are understanding that with the importance of strength training, again, what do we get? We get our health back. We get our aging back. We have something called chronic aging and a chronological aging. Chronological aging and a biological aging, we can actually reduce and reverse that biological aging. So again, my name is Brandon Lewis. I'm the owner, LLC for LuCore Training, and I hope you guys have learned a whole lot. Continue learning, investing in yourself. These are great programs and presentations you have coming up right now. So continue to learn. I look forward to looking for you. I will answer any questions I can in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandon and Kimberly, for providing this wealth of information for us. And we have just a few minutes for, we're going to take some questions. And I'm very happy to have L.B. Gators, a beloved parishioner from St. Vincent de Paul, and an alumni link from the Hendersonville area Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated. Thank you, L.B., for joining us. And why don't you present our first question of the evening? You're muted.
Okay, here we go. This is a good one. Is being thirsty a sign of kidney disease?
Either Dr. Faulkner, you want to take that question?
No, being thirsty is not really a sign of kidney disease. If you're putting out a lot of urine though, and that makes you thirsty, then that may be a sign of kidney disease. And when I say a lot of urine, I mean over 3 liters a day of urine.
Okay. And another symbol of it, they also want to know, are hot feet a symptom of chronic kidney disease? Hot feet.
Hot heat is
hot
not
feet.
A symptom.
No, hot feet.
Hot feet, no, hot feet are not a symptom of chronic kidney disease.
Okay. Okay. Can 3rd or 4th stage kidney disease be reversed?
No. Usually it cannot be reversed. What we try to do when you have stage 4 and stage 3, especially late stage 3, we try to prevent the kidneys from getting any worse. So we monitor you very closely for that. Chronic kidney disease is such that after 3 months, if we cannot reverse it, then we try to protect the kidneys from that time on to keep them from getting worse. And that's why it's so important to be screened for chronic kidney disease. So if you have it, if we can prevent it from getting any worse and preventing you from going on to dialysis, that's what we try to do.
Great. In that same vein, what medications are available to keep your kidney disease from getting worse?
Well, if you have kidney disease from diabetes mellitus or hypertension, we have found that ACE inhibitors like lisinopril, those type of drugs seem to help prevent the kidneys from getting worse and decrease the proteinuria that people have.
Is there any medication that damages the kidney?
Oh, yes, there are many medications that damage the kidney. So only take what your doctor prescribes. Now, if you look at the medications across the counter, and I get this all the time, I see this all the time, people who take Aleve, Motrin for pain, and even some people who rub on those medications that have what we call non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents in them. Those medications also can cause kidney disease and cause you to have acute renal failure. If we catch it early and take you off of that medication, and sometimes we have to give you some steroids to help, we can reverse your kidney disease. If we catch it later, you've been taking it for a year or 2 years, and you're not referred to us until that time, after 2 years or so, then it's unlikely that we can reverse it.
For example, one medication that was asked about is meloxicam.
Yes, ma'am. Meloxicam is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agent. And I usually take my patients off. If I see the kidney disease deteriorating under that, I will stop it right away.
Okay.
One more question.
One more?
Yes.
Recovery from acute kidney disease, how long would that take?
It depends on the damage and how much damage. So we can't really tell how long it would take. We like to get it, we like the kidneys to start to recover right away, but the longer the kidneys are out from recovery, then the less likely they will recover.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faulkner, and thank you so much, LB, for facilitating the questions. And this has been very rich discussion. We're so grateful to our panelists for joining us. And part of our wellness plan includes using all available strategies to decrease our risk of the flu and COVID. Hand washing and taking usual precautions is key. Dr. Kimberly White-Etheridge will tell us more about the Salt Wagon Clinic and the preventative services that are offered there.
Well, good evening. And again, another wonderful session with amazing information for the community. And it's my pleasure to speak on behalf of the Salt Wagon Clinic. The Salt Wagon Clinic at Meharry is a student-run clinic with, of course, faculty physicians at Meharry Medical College. It was founded by Meharry students and the United Neighborhoods Health Services Clinic Network. The Salt Wagon Clinic's mission is to address healthcare disparities within our community by providing high quality care to Nashville's underserved populations. At the Salt Wagon Clinic, first and foremost, you do not need insurance. If you are uninsured or underinsured, the Salt Wagon Clinic is here for you. The services that are offered: primary care visits with our physicians, dental screening and services, prescription medications, diabetes and glucose testing, flu vaccinations, vision testing, other blood testing, and of course, our kidney screenings. The Salt Wagon Clinic is located on the campus of Nashville General Hospital on the second floor where the pediatric clinic is, and it runs on Thursdays from 5:30 to 8:30. The number, I'll put it in the chat, 615-378-7585. You can make appointments. We do take walk-ins at Salt Wagon, but anyone who has an appointment, of course, will be seen first. So again, Salt Wagon Clinic, if you're underinsured, if you're uninsured, if you're concerned about the health of your kidneys, then come and get screened if you don't make it to one of the community screenings. And of course, get your flu shot also. So thank you. And I will put the number again in the chat so that you can call for an appointment or you can pass it on to someone who you know may need it.
Thank you. Just a few little notes here. We want to tell you about our Black K.A.R.E giveaways. We have Black K.A.R.E recipe books, as mentioned earlier, and we'll offer them to the first 10 people from the community who join each webinar. We will also offer books to the first 10 people who enter a question in the Q&A for each webinar. If you qualify, you will receive an email from us, more details. We also have a few Kroger gift cards that we can give away. The gift cards dollars can certainly be used for the healthy food items that we need to keep our risk for CKD low. In order to be eligible for the gift card, you must register for the webinars, complete the survey using the link we will place in the chat. We will also include the survey link in an email that you should receive soon. And third, agree to get an online CKD screen through the National Kidney Foundation. The link to the National Kidney Foundation website will be in your survey. It takes about 3 minutes to answer a few general questions, and they will email a personalized risk assessment to you along with the information about CKD. This is a valuable resource that we want everyone to take advantage of. Now, everyone who completes a National Kidney Foundation screen and attends at least 2 webinars will be eligible for the $30 gift card giveaway. And those who attend all 3 webinars will be eligible for a $50 gift card giveaway. I want to say a special thank you to our speakers, Dr. Faulkner, Fran Blackman, Kimberly Collier, and Brandon Lewis. We're at the end of our hour, so please join us next Thursday, February 2nd at 6 p.m. Central, where we will share this platform with our faith-based partners. We are all on a health and faith journey.
Dr. Farmer Dixon.
Yes.
I would like to answer the question that was on the first slide.
Okay.
And the question was, how do you know if you have chronic kidney disease? And you don't know that you have it unless you're tested. The only way you know is very late, when it's too late to turn things around. So if we can test you very early, then you'll know. But you can only know by testing your blood or urine. And there was one other question that I was asked to speak on about swelling. Yes, you can have swelling. Swelling is one of the signs of chronic kidney disease, especially if you have diabetes mellitus. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for providing that very valuable information. And as a reminder, this webinar was brought to you by the Nashville, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated in partnership with the Music City, Tennessee chapter and the Parthenon, Tennessee Links chapters. We have an exciting partnership and look forward to future successful in-person health, wellness, and screenings for kidney disease. To learn more about the Black K.A.R.E initiative and CKD, look in the chat for the BK website link. We will also place more information in your post-webinar survey. On behalf of the webinar committee, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that this has been very informative, and I think we all have learned a little bit more of what we can do to keep ourselves healthy. Have a good evening.